I'm going to turn things over. I don't have a slideshow for this. I just want this to be more of an interactive kind of party atmosphere because this is our third birthday. We've made it 3 whole years as a chapter here in Iowa City. I went through and crunched a few numbers, so I mean these are rough estimates, but we've had roughly 150 presentations in that time, if you can believe it, almost up to that number, because we have weeks where we just have one presenter, but we have a lot of weeks in the summer, as you'll see coming up this summer, with student presentations, and we tend to do 2 a week during that. Also, here in Iowa, we are the only chapter that has been streaming since the very beginning of coronavirus. I know it feels like it's been a very, very long time. I know some it feels like much more than 3 years. But yeah, we were able to flip things over, which was funny because the last thing we had right before the COVID-19 Zoomification of everything was actually the entrepreneurial event panel back in 2020. A lot of those events, of course, did not happen or had been postponed or virtualized that year. So kind of interesting as I was looking back to see kind of where we'd been and that sort of thing, and to see, I was like, oh yeah, that was our last thing, and it was a thing that highlighted other things that all moved on to Zoom or just were canceled that year. So like I said, we were the only chapter in Iowa that kept going immediately after. A lot of the other chapters have come back online. They're doing virtual stuff now, which we weeks that we have an emergency and can't have a meeting, we always try to say, hey, you should check out Des Moines or Cedar Rapids or Ames that week and see what they're doing. But we do enjoy having everyone here with us every Wednesday morning. We really are the only chapter in the state who have done feature months. We've been featuring different segments of our entrepreneurial population. Back in February, we had Black entrepreneurs. We had women entrepreneurs in March. During Hispanic Heritage Month, mid-September to mid-October, we featured some Hispanic and Latino entrepreneurs here in Iowa. We feature students every summer, June and July. That's one of the things I look forward to, is seeing a lot of those new ideas come through JPEC and that Student Accelerator. Something I hope we'll have back once the program is back in person again. We had the Mandela Washington Fellows a couple times earlier before the coronavirus. Hoping that program fires back up in 2022. They're doing a virtual version of it in 2021 from what I read online. So hopefully the University of Iowa is taking part in that somehow. And of course, we always feature presenters from each year of Startup Weekend Iowa City. So once we start having those events again, we will start featuring those folks. We just had the Startup Weekend Iowa online this past weekend, so I'm hoping we can convince one or both of the teams that came out of that to come present with us. And then we've partnered with other chapters across the state. We had the Techstars Iowa Talk with the chapter in Ames. Back before coronavirus, we had the big get-together with Cedar Rapids, where we featured higher learning technologies. And then in the future, we're hoping to pair up with other chapters throughout Iowa and throughout the Midwest to kind of mix things up and bring new faces and new voices into Iowa City. So we've done a lot of cool things. I know several of you have been with us pretty much the entire time, all 3 years, and honestly, I want to thank all of you for sticking with us, especially this past year with coronavirus and the Zoomification of everything. I know it has been a long 14 months of seeing everyone's faces in boxes every single Wednesday morning, and I know I'm looking forward to when we are able to actually all meet in person again. That's coming hopefully sooner rather than later. We should have an announcement on that coming up shortly. Can't give anything official yet, but we're keeping an eye on those numbers, and hopefully maybe this summer we'll be able to start meeting together in person again, socially distanced, but actually around other human beings, so you can see more than just waist up like we've been able to see on everyone these past 14 months. So we've done a lot, and this is the point where I want to open it up. Anyone really anyone who's presented here at 1MC Iowa City. I invited everyone. Actually sent out an email with about 90 different email addresses saying, hey, we're having a party. Come party with us. So this is the point where anyone who has an update on their business, I know several of you joining us today have presented here at 1MC Iowa City in the past. So really, whoever would like to go first, go ahead and give us an update and let us know how we can help you as a community.
Not everybody all at once.
Yeah. I was saying, Matt, do you want to? I know you've presented Iowa Idea in the past.
Yeah. Well, update. Sure. Thanks. I'll give a quick update on the Iowa Idea. Appreciate everybody's support. Where are we? 84 episodes now, I think, have been published. So that launched. First episode was May 15th last year, and that was with Alex Deason, singer, songwriter, and MFA from the University of Iowa. Most recent was Andrew Sherburne from Film Scene. So really excited about that, and have a few more lined up. In fact, I have a guest from Cork, Ireland that we've recorded already. And if anybody's familiar with the sport of hurling, it is a Gaelic sport that is close to lacrosse or field hockey. But this guy was captain of a championship hurling team, and now focuses on leadership development and high-performing teams. And we were put in contact through for the ICAD folks. It was through the strategic doing community. So through John Morley, put me in touch with somebody named Stephen McDonnell, and some folks know this, but that is one of the names in my family line. So doing a little bit of research to see if we're related, because a lot of my ancestors, some of whom settled in Iowa when Iowa was just a territory, came from Cork, Ireland. Which I can't imagine how bad things in Ireland must have been, that you leave the oceanside views of Cork to settle in the swamp of Clinton, Iowa's river district.
Nice.
But the potatoes probably tasted better here. So
they're both waterfront properties, Matt. I mean, let's go with the upside on that.
well, that right, and I understand the appeal, right?
Yes.
My backyard goes into Ralston Creek, so unfortunately, my family keeps getting smaller and smaller on our waterfront property. So my kids will live next to a bird bath, I guess. Will be the next step. But yeah, no, the podcast is going well, and if honestly, if anybody could, if you have ideas for people that might be good guests, send them my way. From a programmatic vision, I do try to give, preference to traditionally underrepresented voices. So it's not all white, like cis white designers, but all are welcome. I just try to make sure that we get a good mix in there.
Very cool. Thank you. Who's next?
And Matt, I'm a huge fan of the podcast, and I just feel like I'm not even caught up right now. Like, you're releasing so many episodes, I'm not even caught up. I'm on about episode 79 or 80, but I'm getting there. But I just really appreciate what you're doing. The people that you talk to are so interesting. The conversations are so engaging, and I feel like you've just really hit your rhythm and your jam with how you're having those conversations. And they're just enjoyable for everybody, the listener, the guest. It seems like for you too. So kudos to you. It's going really well.
Yeah, have you listened to Abby Covert's the interview with Abby?
I heard the cutoff one. I need to go back and hear the rest of it. I loved her. It cut off right at this great point. I was like, dang it, I got to go back and find the good version. So
yeah, those are some of the fun things of producing your own podcast is when at least I know people are listening, because somebody contacted me. It sounds like it just dropped right in the middle of a sentence. I'm like, we were missing 20 minutes of content. I don't know what happened. It just the file closed and presented itself as looking all right without the last 20 minutes.
Well, and you have a new fan. You interviewed Jim Sherlock, and now my 81-year-old mother is podcasting. So fantastic.
Right on. I'll see if I can get a quote from her for promotional
It'll go
purposes.
wild. Yes.
What is your time per week that you spend on your podcast production?
That's a good question, Aaron. I haven't put it down to the week, but I think I probably spend about 4 to 5 hours on an episode when I think about the recruitment, the back and forth, getting somebody. The recording itself is almost an hour, almost always an hour, or a little bit more, and then I go back and I listen to it again, because then I the last thing I do is do the intro.
Mhm.
So there's at least 2 hours just with the interview, but getting, like trying to lock somebody in and find a date and all that stuff. It probably is about 4 to 1 ratio, and so it just depends on how many I have during a week. And then I feel bad if the queue starts building up of, like, I talk to somebody and we still don't have, a week or two later, we still don't have their episode out, but it's just kind of trying to go in sequence. And then a couple where people have asked me to hold the release date because they have some promotional thing or they're updating their website. So yeah, but it's it's been, for an extrovert living in an introvert house during COVID, it's been super helpful.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Any other questions for Matt? Otherwise, who would like to go next?
Matt, who's been a couple of your favorite guests?
Well, Ben McDougal, you should do that. That's one of my favorite episodes.
Besides the obvious, who else?
Dave Hill, episode 10 was a fun one for me, and then Dan Klein and he was super excited. I love him from an information architecture perspective, but he's Dutch and he grew up in Michigan, but has strong connections to Pella, Iowa. Has a lot of family in Pella, so that was kind of fun. So I find it, and then Annie Duke was a really fun one, and I thought we had a fun conversation. Then she wrote back to let me know that was one of the most fun conversations she's had in a long time. So that one went well. But yeah, Annie Duke was great. But yes, everybody, Ben McDougal, check it out.
I joke, but it was really cool. Thank you for creating the space to have those conversations with all these remarkable people. Maybe you can dig up that favorite episode from the past and share it in the link so we can revisit that relic.
I'll go grab that. Yep.
That's awesome.
Man, how can I listen to your podcast? I just looked it up on YouTube and I don't see it on there.
Not on YouTube, but on audio podcast, like on Spotify, on Overcast, on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, all of the audio ones.
I'm gonna find you on Spotify now.
I am super curious about Michael Quinn. What are you up to?
Oh my gosh. Hi, everyone.
How's your last presentation? Since your last presentation, we haven't had an update. So would you mind sharing with us?
Yes. Well, I have made a lot of progress here recently, probably in the last month. I got a pitch deck that I believe is super fantastic. And I've been pitching to actually VCs looking for pre-seed funding, trying to raise $100,000 to kind of get things going. So that's been really great learning experience. I think it's kind of dialed in, and it's not what I thought it was. It's really not what I thought it needed to be until I really talked to a lot of people and figured out what they're looking for, which has been a great experience. So I'm doing that. In conjunction with that, I'm building a memory training curriculum. And the idea is to launch this in the fall and to sell it in the summer. So trying to kind of skip some of the MVP type things, raising money. I'm trying to build something of value for my target market, which is the homeschoolers. And and then do a smoke test it with them over the summer, try and generate some money and make it a little more valuable to investors, and try to make all this happen as soon as possible. So lots going on, trying to really keep the focus, and that's kind of, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I've been doing.
Michael, speaking of nutshells, can you describe what you're building in a sentence?
Well, I am building in an online training to an online memory training system to help kids who are underserved in STEM. So what we're doing is we're taking science-based methodologies, and we're bringing it to the underrepresented groups in STEM. And that includes basically everyone besides a white, Asian, or Indian males. Everybody else is pretty dramatically underrepresented. And what we're doing is we're building the core foundational skills, and just looking at the prerequisite skills needed to be an engineer, needed to be a scientist, and then building up those specific skill sets to enable kids to have an opportunity to kind of go after these jobs. I know that's a lot, but in 2 words I can do it. We are unlocking opportunities is what we're doing. So a lot of these kids have significant barriers. So that's what we're trying to overcome.
I was going to joke and say that was more than one sentence.
I know, I get rattled everything.
But that's interesting. And the timing of it, Michael, I'd like to learn a little bit more about it, because the homeschooling curriculum and thinking about entrepreneurship woven through STEM seems like there's some opportunities. I've also got a conversation in that education realm actually happening this afternoon. And if you want to connect here after 1MC, maybe I can weave you into that experience. But more long term, I'd be curious to learn a little bit more about kind of the foundation of what you're hoping to bring to that audience.
Yeah, super. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, that's a big portion, or a big piece of kind of what I'm doing, is trying to connect with the people, the target market, and then also connect with people in the STEM world throughout the state, just to raise awareness of the problem and the solution we're trying to take care of.
Awesome. Michael, I can't remember if you were on last week or not, but Alex Kubel-Frakes presented her company again as a Recaffeinate, and she offered up a resource called WeFunder.com, and I just put it in the chat box, which is great for people that are trying to raise funds that may not know exactly where to go. And it sounds like it's pretty user-friendly. It's helpful for companies, and they don't try and take everything away from you. So,
cool. WeFunder.
WeFunder, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's I'll look at that. So that's some of the challenges is building that MVP, finding those resources to build the MVP to test, and some people that are helping with it, but some funding to have a programmer would certainly make things a whole bunch easier.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron.
Sure.
Yeah, and just a +1 on what Aaron said. WeFunder looks like a really interesting platform. So not only for funding, but I think it might be an interesting place for gathering ideas as well, seeing how different people are approaching spaces. So, and that was a new to me resource as well, but I've found it to be a pretty fascinating space.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds right in the wheelhouse. Thinking about doing different things with like crowdfunding and stuff like that. Putting together some content that would be appealing, But this sounds like something that could help.
I threw a couple links into the chat for you, Michael, but I also heard someone in the room has a new ed tech collaborative that could be a good conversation to have. Liz.
Yeah, definitely. I thought we had talked about that already, but maybe not, Michael. So we can connect on that later.
Okay, super.
Yeah, I'll follow up via email. So we're not taking this time here, but
Aaron, you always look so fast every morning with that sweet motorcycle in your background.
I forget that motorcycle's behind me on most days.
Is
But it
there
was
is there a story behind it, or is it just a beautiful piece?
So it's actually in one of our meeting rooms at Merge, and it was hand painted by until recently Jamie Bowling, a local artist. So it's not a photograph; it's an actual painting, and it's a great piece. And so it's been hanging on our walls for a couple of years. He moved to Arizona. I don't think he's taking it with him. So we're just grateful it's here, but it's so funny. And if you know anything about me, I am terrified of motorcycles, and I would never get on one. So this is as close as I'll get. And it represents nothing about my personality, except for maybe I'm like speedy.
Nice. Cool. Any other questions for Michael? If not, I know Dawn has presented in the past. Dawn, do you want to give us an update on what you've been doing?
It was super recent past, so I don't know that I would expect great waves, but after I presented to this group plus the Des Moines group, that was a wonderful opportunity, and I really, really appreciated that because it just generated a flurry of activity. So that was kind of what the end of March and most of April honestly ended up being, was conversations, and they were fabulous. A lot of those conversations led me to people that were maybe similar practitioners to me, so they had their own consulting business or their own coaching business, and it was just great to be able to talk to them to say, how did you do it? How do you start? What can I expect? Any tips and tricks and things like that? So then what I'm looking forward to now is a couple different directions. One, I finally finished. I'd never done this when I was an employee anywhere, but I finished my Lean Green Belt certification. So I got that kind of underway and out of the way. I felt like with process orientation, I thought that was a helpful thing to have. So I got that done. Looking forward to those conversations that I have had, leading more directly to the types of businesses that now need my services. So now that I've talked to people about how did you get started and who do you talk to, getting that next level linked more closely with those types of businesses. And then also just really then hunkering down, because as I talked about when I presented, I had a couple projects right away, which was great because I got the opportunity to just do that work. Well, now I have to figure out a way to define, well, what is the work that I do? So that more than just verbally or through the presentation that I gave to you all, that I can articulate that a little bit better. I can create maybe even just a quick website, some things like that to just better define my services and what is it that I do here. So that's the new focus, and that's what's happening. So I guess I said there wasn't much going on, but maybe I've done a few things in the month since we've talked. So there you go.
That sounds like great progress, Dawn.
Right.
It's good.
Well, and I think that's part of an entrepreneur too, is that you're so busy and doing so many things that you're just like, well, there's not much going on. But to the rest of the world, we're like, how do you do it all?
And then throw in some walks and a trip too. So there you go. It's fun. Yeah.
Nice. Any questions for Dawn?
what is the certification you got, Dawn? What does that kind of entail?
So Lean Six Sigma, it was just an online course. So really in the principles of, Lean and Six Sigma kind of combined. So a lot of defined methodologies for process improvement. They were things that I'd been exposed to along the way in my career, and especially with working with Matt and some others we'd kind of talk the talk around those things and maybe use some of the practices without having names for them. And so it's just a way for me to have a better way to, again, articulate when we're going through a particular step or phase of how we're going to analyze processes for an organization. These are the practices that we're following. And a lot of organizations, particularly in the manufacturing space, look for that type of certification or people with that experience.
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
It kind of was. So I'm excited to have that done.
Nice. Anyone else?
Eric, you presented kind of off the cuff a couple weeks ago. or
That's where I was
months ago.
going next. I was going to see if Eric has any updates.
Not much going on here. Well, I'm following up on Don.
We know that's not true.
Yeah. The Doc 411 business is our traction, trying to find the right words. It's positive. I'm actually just so excited. I'm trying to hold myself back. That's what it is. So we've got an investor who's put up a significant amount of money to accelerate our growth. We signed a deal with, and this was a partner we signed a deal with. It's one of these things anyone I think who's worked with some larger companies, of course, they move slowly. To them, they're moving very quickly, but to small companies, they move very slowly. So the good news is that the partnership that we signed with them is actually starting to bear fruit. What it is that they're using our data. Our mission, if I don't mind just kind of off the top of my head talking here, our long-term goal is not to get our app in every truck driver's hand, for example, 3 million of them. What we say is our goal is to get our data in their hands, whether it be through our app or one of our partners' apps. So the good news about this partner is they've got about 500,000 active daily users and about 1 million truck drivers with their apps. They've got multiple apps. But with our partnership, they rolled out a new app, so they're experimenting with us and with this new feature for them. And it's just growing really well. All our key performance indicators are going up at a really nice pace. So that's great. It's been keeping me very busy with the investor and landing that. It's going to enable me to rehire some developers to solve some of the features we want to put in. But one of the great things about a partnership, and we've always seen partnerships as key to our success, because it's hard to be a 2 or 1 or 5 person company and compete in a market that's really about 7 million people work in this industry. It's just there's a lot of people that think it's the Facebooks or those sorts of things. It's possible, and yes, I suppose it is, but obviously, as we all know, it's unlikely and very difficult to achieve that. So we intentionally set out to work with our partners to leverage it out, and it's paying off. So really happy about that.
Eric,
Well, this
that's
is a
great.
party, so we're celebrating you and everyone else. Like Jay said, it's a party atmosphere this morning. So
Yeah.
it's exciting to hear about that, Eric. Congratulations.
Thank you. I tend to be a little reserved because, like a lot of you too, I mean, there's a lot of hopes, a lot of expectations, a lot of things that we thought would happen that didn't come to pass. So that's why there's a little bit, but this is me excited.
That's great.
Nice.
And Eric, too, just I really appreciated when you did present, one, that you just stepping up, right? Because we had a guest couldn't show, we had time, so I loved that you presented, and just find the space that you're working in is incredibly fascinating on like bringing technology to solve this kind of wicked last mile problem, right? And what that does to efficiency, but also the story you told about the driver where children weren't allowed, right? And the amount of productivity and time lost trying to find daycare, not only the dollars, but also kind of the just the heartfelt component of that. I really appreciate that in your story, because it's stuck with me since you presented.
One of the other things, I don't know if I mentioned, if I can continue, is Jay, stop me if you got another schedule.
Go ahead.
Is that the data quality problem we have is one of our big issues. How do we ensure and validate the data and grow our data set? And I've been in a truck. I'm not a truck driver. My business partner has been in a warehouse, but he's never been a truck driver.
Mhm.
And like any of that, they see things differently. They're able to identify issues and have their own jargon and language. And so that all feeds into that quality. So what we did, we actually met up with, there's a charity in the industry called St. Christopher's Fund. And they were set up by a couple of radio personalities in the business in conjunction with some large companies to assist truck drivers that maybe have had different circumstances where they can't drive, whether it be a medical condition. And some of the stories you hear about truck drivers that are literally on the road, were stopped overnight, that have a diabetic attack, a heart attack, some other kind of thing happening, and never mind that whole issue, but and the just fear and terror of something like that happening. But once they're stable, now what do? Because the government says they can't work for a minimum of 6 months. They can't drive, so they can't work. So one of the things that we've been partnering with them is to have those drivers, all they need is a computer and an internet connection, and we give them access to one of our websites where they can go in and actually review the data, make phone calls to warehouses to try to get some of the information. And as you can imagine, them picking up the phone and trying to talk to a very busy warehouse clerk, they get a lot more information. They know the right questions they ask. Where I call and I'm basically they hang up on me because I don't know, and they can tell I don't know. But with them, it gives them something to do. So we pay them a little bit of money. Their experience brings immense value. I mean, so much more leverage to the information than I could offer, or interns, or some overseas operation, or high school kids, or plus they feel like they're giving back, and it's a great story for us to tell to the industry that, look, this is where our data is coming from. It's not an algorithm. I mean, there's that, but it's being validated and enhanced by experienced humans. So that's
Eric,
just something I'm really proud of. So
Yeah, and I don't know if this will help, but it sounds a possible connection might be there's a firm that called Growers Edge out of Iowa, and they is it Dan Cosgrove, I think, is the CEO. Dan Cosgrove. So Cosgrove came from like the Pioneer DuPont. I forgot what their name became, but now this new business is looking at like precision ag and data on fields, and then about what, if following a certain plan, what growers could expect. And they put money on the line based on, we think you could get 5 more bushels per acre. Right. Based on what's going to, that type of stuff. But it's based on the, and Don and I worked in the ag space for a while, and we know farmers are sometimes hesitant to cough up their data, but based on other data and things that were there, they start to bring elements together. And I know you said it's not algorithm, but when they start talking about the like scrubbing and cleaning data and getting data from multiple sources, there just might, I don't know if he'd be open to a conversation, but there might be something there too on your data gathering techniques, because you're not in competing fields, right. But they might have some other tips or tools.
Absolutely. I'll look up them, or if you have a contact. I
was just on a Zoom call through it was through Technology Association of Iowa.
Yep.
So it's Dan Cosgrove, and it's Growers Edge is the name of the company, and they're based in Johnston, Iowa.
Great. Okay.
And they're early startup with some seed capital. Seed capital. Thank you, everybody. I'll show myself out.
I love that.
One other thing I'll say is that during one of the presentations with Devin Green, Devin and James Welbus up in Cedar Rapids, I'm doing some work with both of them. So it was another connection that I made here, which I really appreciate. So.
Oh, that's great.
both great guys.
Yeah, no, that's something we focus a lot on presenters, but a lot of what makes this work each and every week is those connections that everyone's able to make, and is the great part about being able to tune into this every single week. And you have some new people in there, we've got our regulars in there, and just getting that mixing and matching and those connections going that I think is one of our strongest features of what we do every single week. So I'm glad those connections are being made. So, any other questions for Eric or for any of our previous presenters?
If you have a question, ask it now, because I do have to run in 2 minutes for my second COVID shot. So,
oh, very nice.
Congratulations.
Another reason to celebrate today. Yes.
Oh, cool. Any other questions?
I guess my last question for Eric then is: are you going to be cranking the Ramones or Zeppelin later today?
Today, Jimmy Eat World.
Okay.
My kids are learning to play a couple of Jimmy Eat World songs. So.
Right on.
Actually, my daughter, if I may, she just started teaching at the School of Rock up in Cedar Rapids, which just opened. So
Awesome.
proud of her. She went up there for a lesson, and the instructor said play, and he said stopped after she played. He was like, I don't have anything to teach you. So which she's been playing for 4 years. But they said, well, why don't you come work here and teach? So she's teaching up there. So any kids, want to learn music, that's opened, and just neat. It's a lot going on there. So really excited.
That's cool.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, good to see you.
Yep, you all as well. I'll see you next week. Stay well.
Thank you.
Good to see you. See you next week.
Thanks.
So,
I'll hang on a little bit longer. I don't have to go quite yet. I want to hear the next.
Good.
I wanna hear everyone talk.
let's see, you maybe the end, unless I'm forgetting anyone. I think that's pretty much everyone. We can. I know
I can talk about PS1 and PATV.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I didn't present for them, but I've been a member with them since then. And PATV has since, they presented back when we were meeting like in the basement at Midwest One Bank.
Mhm.
So then PS1 presented at Merge a year or two ago.
Yeah, I
And
think it's-
PATV merged with PS1 around that time. So, now PS1, Public Space One houses the Media Arts Co-op is what we were branded PATV as. And right before we were ready to launch the new program, COVID happened. So the doors of the new MAC, is what we call it now, never really opened to the public. And since then, one big thing, a really big thing, I think, that I can't share much on, but what is out there is that PATV owned the building that we have where the studio is on Lafayette Street, where Uptown Bills used to be, down Dubuque Street, just down the street from Merge. We have since we're selling that building, and that whole block is going to be redeveloped. So somebody bought us out, and we're looking for a new home for the MAC program. So that's something exciting that we'll be seeing stuff on in the next few months or years. So look out for that. And then Public Space One, I came on Public Space One when the PATV merger happened. So they've been around Iowa City since 2011, I want to say. No, before that, because I went to a PS1 show in high school.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it dates from maybe when I was in college, back 01 to 05.
Yeah, maybe it's 2001. I'm thinking of something with a 1. Anyway, PS1 is it's a arts nonprofit organization. Our mission is to host shows, have a gallery, a functioning gallery, host residencies, and just help artists and facilitate art in the community and challenge the way we look and think about art. So they've grown a lot since starting in the attic of the Deadwood.
Mhm.
And now we own 2 houses on the north side and this commercial building that we're selling too. So we have 3 major programs. We have the PS1 gallery, main, and then the Media Arts Co-op, which we inherited, former PATV, the Center for Afrofuturist Studies, who presented a few weeks ago, and the Iowa City Press Co-op, which is a public access printing press workshop where you can go and use heavy duty presses, make your own prints. So yeah, we survived the pandemic. We restructured our budget and we made it happen. We just had our annual art auction last month, did real well there. We raised over $10,000 again, and it was the first time that we ever had bids on every single item. So the pandemic forced us to rethink the way we did that, and it worked. So happy about that. But yeah, that's all I can say. I mean, I wish I had someone from PS1 here with me so that you can talk more about what really is going on. I'm just on the board. So any questions that maybe I can answer, or?
Ricardo, I was just excited when On and Company presented a few weeks ago. That was I really appreciated that, and I think just excited about what's going on, but more excited about what might happen post COVID, right? With the new space and exhibitions that could happen in kind of those old homes.
Did you guys connect and is On getting on your podcast?
We hope so. Yeah, we've had some media, and they're trying to figure out, are we doing, because Kalmia Strong, we're trying to decide would it be better to have two separate episodes or both Kalmia and on the same episode. So we're just working through that. So I hope to have them on soon.
Yeah, I think we should be able to do both, but I think the cast deserves its own, and they have enough for their own episode, I think.
That's what that was my point of view. And so just want people to be as comfortable as possible. So if they're more comfortable kind of as a duo, that's cool. But and I let them know I thought that what they're doing, they could each be their own episode.
Yeah, no, thank you for promoting that. And I mean, one thing that we could really use help with is just handling this growth has been challenging because, in the last 2 years, we've gone from living in a basement to owning property and, being responsible for more. Our budget is growing, and just navigating through that and getting more connections, new connections, expanding our reach from just, local artists and kids to business people, getting more sponsorships and just fundraising, more memberships. So I don't know, any ideas or suggestions you guys have would be great. We do have a supporting member program where people can donate monthly. So that always helps. And then of course we do annual fundraisers. We're getting grants, and the more we grow, the bigger grants we're getting. But the more we have to spend the money anyway. So we've gotten state grants. We're hoping to get city grants soon, like Film Scene and The Angler does. So we have a good relationship with the city. They helped us purchase our houses on the north side. But yeah, just growing our membership and our supporter base would be something that we're new to.
Ricardo, is it super localized to the point where presenting virtually at a different 1 million cups, talking with people who might be interested in the initiative around Iowa, is that kind of out of the question, or would you be able to utilize some of these different locations with the different projects you're involved with?
No, that would be cool. It's just, it wouldn't be me who presents, and I'm the one who attends 1MC on their behalf. So I just need to tell John, our executive director, to sign up and do it, because it would be a great way, I think. And I'm always talking about 1 million cups when I'm with them, so I should encourage them more to apply it elsewhere, because they network among the arts communities, and PS1 is becoming more known nationally among arts nonprofits. But that's, like you say, it's a small world, right? So yeah, we need to check that out.
I was going to say, I think PS1 is in the 1MC system, because I had, at some point, someone filled out an application, put it in there. So yeah, it's easy. It's as easy as clicking a few buttons, and applications fly out to other places. So
Really?
yes.
Is there? Well, I'll ask you a technical question later.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other PS1 related questions or help anyone can give?
I'll put our website on the chat, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. That's where we post our upgrades or updates.
I
The
think
cast had a visiting our resident last week, but we kept it low key because of COVID. So
you guys have done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I think growing the brand of PS1, especially after the merger two or 3 years ago. Like 2020 didn't happen in my mind, so I always like leave fear off, I feel like. But you're doing a great job. I think that a strong board for guidance and people that are willing to share their expertise in that capacity is really going to be beneficial for managing your growth, especially so quickly and without using any of your financial resources. So, and a good executive director. But I think you guys are in good hands. So.
Yeah.